Honorable Dr. Bindu Naya, Dr. Kanat Narhari, Mr. Itumeleng Maleka, Dr. Julia Ambler, Dr. R.L. Bulla, Dr. S.M. Thakur, Dr. Tej Kumar Parikh, my esteemed colleagues, Ms. Kavita Solanki, Ms. Cheryl Banwarilal, Namaskar, distinguished guests, and audience members. It gives me a great privilege in welcoming you all on this very important occasion of Ayushman Bharat Divas, the National Health Day of India. During these trying times, we are all succumbed to a very negative situation, but we hope with this program, your outlook and everything around you is going to be much more positive. Our first speaker, all the way from Durban, is Dr. Bindu Naya. Dr. Bindu Naya is the CEO of the Kerala Ayurvedic Center, Real Health Solutions, and has qualified in the Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Naturopathy and Yoga Therapy, and Master of Business Administration, MA in Political Science. Without further ado, I hand you over to Dr. Bindu Naya for her remarks on this occasion.
Namaste, everybody. And a very, I know 30th of April is celebrated as the Ayushman Divas. So my best wishes to everybody in India and in the department for the Ayushman Divas. And today the topic is sense of health in Ayurveda and in general, I suppose. And because we're all going through this times with the COVID-19 affecting the whole world, I think this is an absolutely appropriate time to discuss health. I will talk about Ayurveda and natural healing today. Ayurveda, as the name itself suggests, it's made of two words, Sanskrit words, Ayush and Veda. Ayush is life or lifespan, and Veda is the science or knowledge of life. So therefore, Ayurveda is a complete science of life, how to lead a healthy, happy life. And Ayurveda is the oldest system of medicine in the world. It is the oldest documented method, also where the books are available right from 3,000 to 5,000 years, all recorded in Sanskrit. That is why it's also called as the mother of all healing. At present, Ayurveda is being practiced all over the world, and it is very popular. But in the olden times, it was actually passed on from oral tradition, from accomplished masters who we used to call as Vaidyas. And even now in India, the traditional healers in Ayurveda are called as Vaidyas. Naturopathy and Ayurveda is called as Vaidyas. But the contemporary form of Ayurveda that we practice now is actually derived from the classical sacred text, Sanskrit text. Ayurveda is actually a part of the Vedas. It's derived from the fourth Veda, the Atharvaveda. Now, health, according to Ayurveda, if you put in simple words, it is actually a complete, perfect balance of body, mind, soul, and spirit. The body being the sharir, the mind, the sattva, the soul is the atma. And the senses, the indriyas, all the senses that we have, that all of these, when they are in perfect tuning and sync, then only we can call a person perfectly healthy. So if you work a lot and build your good muscles and body, make a beautiful body, but if the mind is not at peace and you cannot sleep, you're not healthy, then can we call your person healthy? No. According to Ayurveda, no. Similarly, if you have a sharp, healthy mind, but the body is sick, you cannot be healthy. But we have a complete balance and sync between the body, mind, and soul. There's perfect harmony in life. There's joy and bliss in life. This is what Ayurveda calls as a perfect state of natural well-being. Now, the purpose of Ayurveda, if you see in simple terms, is to help. It's not only for the sick people, it's a way of life. It is main two purposes in Ayurveda, as said by the two main scholars, Charaka and Sushruta in Ayurveda, is Swastasya Swastya Rakshanam and Aturasya Vikara Prashamanam, means to help maintain a healthy lifestyle for the healthy person. If you're already healthy, to help you promote good health and maintain it. And the second is, if a person is sick, how to get him better, how to heal him better. These are the main two purposes of Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda, even in those days, was very, very systematic. It was very well documented, and it was actually categorized into the 8 departments, which was called as the Ashtanga Ayurveda. The 8 branches of Ayurveda was like Kaya Chikitsa, which was internal medicine and treatments for therapies for body, Shalya Chikitsa, surgery, to remove things that was tumors, anything that would have caused any problems to the body. Chalakya was ENT, for the ear, nose, throat, and head. Then we have Balya and Kaumarya Bhritya, that was pediatrics. Then we had the Rasayana Chikitsa, which is for rejuvenation of body and anti-aging processes. Vatikarana was there, then Bhuta Vidya was there, which is psychiatry. And last is Visha Tantra or Agadha Tantra, we call it. Visha Chikitsa or Agadha Tantra, which is toxicology, to identify poisons, to toxins, and to have antidotes. So even 5,000-year-old back, it was all very clearly mentioned, and the procedures, diagnosis, method was all clear. Ayurveda's main the diagnosis and the treatments are based on the simple principle of Tridosha theory, which is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So these are the elements that we have in our body, and Ayurveda believes that every person, like we have a signature, every person has got a unique body type or a prakriti or a body constitution. Now, this body constitution is something which is the person inherits in a fetal position, fetal state. When the person is in the mother's womb, at that state, this doshas are put in a certain proportion, and it's constant throughout the life. It does not change. So that is the main thing about the prakriti. And now we were talking about the purpose about treating the sick people, and also to maintain healthy lifestyle. These treatments in Ayurveda are called as Shodhana Chikitsa, means preventative and promotive, and Shamanas, to calm sicknesses. So this is the main line of treatment in Ayurveda. And I think most of the people, when we talk about Ayurveda, talk about treatments. They talk about Panchakarma treatments. I think everybody is aware of Shirodhara treatment. That is one of the most popular treatments in Ayurveda. So these are all these treatments that you have in therapies, you have in Ayurveda, falls under these 2 categories. Panchakarma treatments are the 5 purification procedures in Ayurveda. The 5 purification procedures are for different organs. Like, for example, the main treatments you have is in purification is Nasya, which is used for kapha, mucuses, for sinus treatments, and kapha in the upper body. Then you have Basti, which is an enema to remove purgation and toxins. One of the most popular and very effective therapy purification procedures in Ayurveda is Virechanam, which is a procedure where the person is administered medication, oral medication for a few days, followed by therapies to loosen up the therapy, and last is the purgation, with which you can go to a complete cellular level detoxing. You may call it a bio-cleansing in the body. And then you have Rakta Mokshana, which is the bloodletting. So these are the main 5 therapies of Ayurveda Panchakarma. Besides that, another very popular treatment in Ayurveda is the Rasayana Chikitsa, which is basically for rejuvenation of the body organs and longevity. So a lot of people follow this in India, and a lot of people even from all over the world come to India, especially Kerala is a hub for Ayurveda. So they come there to do these treatments for 21 days, 1 month, where you can actually cleanse up your organs and prolong the life breath, the energy in your body. So, and besides the body therapy that you can regularly do is like Abhyangam, Ilakiri. These are the therapies for strengthening muscular, circular, and bone systems. So, now, we were talking about Ayurveda. Yoga is also an integral part of Ayurveda. We were talking about body, mind, and spirit. So the body can be cleansed, treated, and strengthened by all the Ayurvedic therapies and procedures. For the mind comes the strengthening of muscular and circulatory system, and the mind comes yogasana and meditations. So when these 2 are practiced together, we see a wonderful results. We see very good results where there's a complete holistic approach to healing. Another very important aspect of Ayurveda is lifestyle, diet, and Ayurvedic medicines. Now, lifestyle, it includes everything. It includes the Ayurvedic procedures like dinacharyas, which is daily regimens to maintain good health and promote good health. You have Ratricharyas, which is night procedures to maintain good health. Then you have also Rutu Charyas, which is seasonal. For certain, when you have spring coming, you do certain therapies to prepare your body to face spring. When you have summer, before summer, you do certain therapies. So you preempt the diseases which can come and be treated accordingly. And lastly, the most important thing is diet. We were talking about Prakriti. So like we said, every person is different. What could be medicine for one person may be poison for another person. In English, we say one man's meat is another person's marmalade. So similarly in Ayurveda, we say clearly, Charaka actually said that if the food is good, if the food is wrong, there's medicine, no medicine can help. And if the food is right, there's no need for medicines. Food itself is medicine. So that is another aspect of Ayurveda. The person, according to his body type, he just need to diagnose, see what is his Prakriti and eat the correct foods. So in the long run, you will maintain a good, healthy life. And the last, but not the least important is the Ayurvedic tonics, Ayurvedic supplements, which has got absolutely no side effects. But in India, and now in a lot of countries too, you'll see they are used on a regular basis to maintain our immune system. So there are things like Chyawanprash. Now the Ayush department in India is advised during this COVID to improve the immune system to regularly take 10 grams of Chyawanprash. Chyawanprash is one of the most popular Ayurvedic immune system boosters. Then there is Triphala, which you can take almost every day to cleanse the body and strengthen the body. And there is things to strengthen the mind, like Brahmi tonics. A lot of Brahmi tonics are the Bacopa tonics, which actually improves the brain function. It balances the brain's left and right lobe. So your intuitive and your analytic skills, both are balanced. So you have better control on the brain. So these are some of the main factors of Ayurveda that we can implement in our life. And so I would just like to conclude by saying that Ayurveda is not just a system of medicine, it's a way of life. It is a way of life that we incorporate in our life every day. If you see in India, the simple namaste, start from here. It is a part of our culture. This humble namaste is actually, it's a form of greeting. But you will see recently in the coronavirus period, you must have seen pictures of almost all world leaders doing namaste, because this protects us from transmitting germs to other people and also passing negative elements. So it is a beautiful way of greeting, I think. And ways it's also part of our cooking. In our Indian cooking, all the immune boosting spices, jeera, cumin, garlic is being used regularly. So this is the main thing that we have in Ayurveda and which we can all easily incorporate in our life. And maybe this is one of the reasons that despite our big population, India is doing one of the leaders in fighting coronavirus too. So by saying that, I would like to conclude my talk here. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bindu Nair, for your very informative remarks on Ayurveda in the sense of health. Our next speaker is an Ayurvedic doctor, writer, and physician. He is serving the world by his personal care, consultations, discourses, and workshops. He is an award-winning writer in Kannada, published 2 short story collections. He is also known for his column on varied fields, including medicine, music, yoga. He's a renowned sitar player, having performed around the globe with world-renowned artists. He is currently based in Central Florida, United States of America. I now present to you Dr. Kanad Narhari, all the way from United States of America.
Hey everyone, it's so nice to see you all again. I feel that I'm Indian and also I'm South African, because that's how my South African bond is. with a short duration. I feel that 5 years of my life that I spent in Durban, I became a Durbanite sometime. And to get to know great people, amazing culture, love to preserve the culture through their lifestyle, affinity towards Ayurveda, music, our culture. I mean, I cannot really express how much I learned and how much I have to give back to South Africa, to be honest. Thank you so much. Namaste, Dr. Yogi ji. Namaste, Srishti ji, Cheryl ji, Bindu ji, and everyone around Piyush ji. Congratulations for Ayushman Divas Bharat, because this is so important time, and we are going through, the whole world is going through the sufferings that we have never seen. Probably in this generation, we haven't seen probably. I would like to quote a Sanskrit verse from my father's poetry, Ayurveda. My father written this poetry when I was studying. I requested him to write a poetry on our motto as in budding Ayurvedic doctors and everything. So he says, Namostu Dhanvantaraye, Divo Dasapada Lanchana Deshika Namostu Dhanvantaraye. So that's his first charana, the first line. And then he says, Swastha Bharatam Sabala Bharatam, Swastha Manavam Pushta Manavam, Sharira Vedat Kartum, Taruna Vayam Upayataha, which is translated roughly as, I know all of you understand, but to build a Swastha Bharat, to build a Sabal Bharat, Swastha Bharatam, Sabala Bharatam, Swastha Manavam, to build a healthy human being, Pushta Manavam, healthy and Tandurust Manav, and we all young people are going forward to do this. So I thank my father who written this poetry, which is forever truth and we can cherish always. Thank you, Binduji. That was a wonderful introduction about Ayurveda, and that was very, very fascinating. So I would like to jump towards present COVID-19 situation and how Ayurveda can help, how Ayurveda is helping people. I know a renowned Ayurvedic doctor by name Dr. Giridhar Kajre in Bangalore has presented 2 varieties of Ayurvedic pills to the Ayush government in Karnataka, and which went through a little hustle in the beginning. The Ayush was not supporting, and then I think right now they are helping, or they're supporting him to produce more medications, Ayurvedic medications, to try for free in COVID-19 asymptomatic and symptomatic groups. So I would like to focus much on treatment varieties, how Ayurveda can be interpreted, the classical Ayurvedic understandings can be interpreted with today's COVID-19 situation. See, Ayurveda is very vast, very huge, very massive. It's a giant, to be honest. So we cannot find one single disease, even today, that has not been presented in Ayurvedic classics. Either you take Charak Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, Ashtanga Hridaya, which are main 3 treatises, and then comes like 3 sub-main treatises like Madhav Nidan, Shangadhara Samhita, Yoga Ratnakar. You know, we have plenty available materials to interpret with COVID-19. So in my understanding, it is nothing but a jvara, a fever, variety of a fever called as Abhishangika jvara. And that is one thing, and there is clear explanation about Janapado Dhvamsa in Ayurveda. Janapado Dhvamsa is nothing but Sanskrit name for pandemics. So see, 5,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago, whenever they written it, they explain about pandemic so beautifully. It means Janapada Dhvamsa. The Janapada means the group of people, and Janapada Dhvamsa is nothing but pandemic. So let us consider a little bit about unexposed asymptomatic group of people with regarding COVID-19. For example, people staying at home, and we worry about, okay, the guy next to us have COVID-19 positive symptoms, what we should do. So preventative intervention here can include both pharmacological as well as non-pharmacological strategies. Among non-pharmacological strategies, intervention is a healthy lifestyle, to be honest. Adequate physical activity, sufficient sleep, care of retainable and non-retainable urges, like going out, I want to do this, I want to meet my friend, I want to attend my party, my friend's cousin has got a wedding, they're doing at home, I want to attend it. This kind of urges should not be performed at all. So there is clear discussion about a concept in Ayurveda called Sadvritta. Sat means good, auspicious, all of us know. Vritta means charya, daily activities. So Sadvritta in Ayurveda explains so beautiful, that is in short duration, I won't be able to explain in detail. It's a huge topic. Whoever interested can read on Sadvritta. Google is mother of knowledge. That will help you definitely. And Ayurvedic herbs such as garlic, Dr. Bindu mentioned about it, turmeric is good, ajwain is good, and seeds of loban is good, boswellia species are good, and it's for strategical disinfection. We can use all of them at home instead of using any other chemical disinfectants. This is a better way to disinfect. And Rasayana Chikitsa, to prevent further damage to the body, exposure to the body, build the immunity very well, so you won't be immunocompressive at some point. So what you can do, Brahma Rasayana is very good, Chavan Prasha is very good, Amrita Bhallataka is very good. These are all the medications. I believe that Dr. Bindu, she is keeping all these things. I know she has got very good broad range of Ayurvedic pharmaceutical sort of practice. So these Rasayana drugs are very helpful simply because Rasayana act as antioxidant, antimicrobial, vaccine adjuvant, and confer immunity against diseases, which is very, very important. So along with this, physical distancing and all, everybody know that very well. So now the thing comes like exposed asymptomatic people, quarantined people. So either you're quarantined at some point, somewhere in your life. So what you can do, there are plenty of things. You have to boost your Agni and Sadhaka Pitta and your sacral plexus chakra. So if you manage these things, the metabolism goes high and your immunity will be built very fast, very effectively. So simple like Sanjeevani Vati, Chitrakadi Vati, single herb like Guduchi, even Shunthi, the ginger is helpful. Again, Hatidra, the curcumin is helpful. And because of taking these things properly, what happens is Ayurveda explains a disease manifestation like Sanchaya, Prakopa, Vistara. It's basically like how a pathogenesis occurs. We have to nip the COVID-19 at the bud. So what we have to do is at the Sanchaya state, you bring it down completely by taking those herbs I mentioned, like boost your Agni, Chitrakadi Vati is very good, Sanjeevani Vati is very good, and there are plenty of the herbs too. And with mild COVID-19 symptoms, what we can do is there are plenty of herbs explained for Abhishangika Jwara, like Lakshmi Vilas Rasa, Pipali Rasayana, Sanjeevani Vati again, and Gojishwadi Kashaya is very good one too. There are plenty of them, like Vyagra Haritaki is very good. So this kind of herbs, consult an expert, Ayurvedic doctors, Ayurvedic specialists nearby you, and you will come to know more about Abhishangika Jwara and will be helpful in mild COVID-19 symptoms. With moderate to severe COVID-19 symptoms, Ayurveda is great. Again, you don't have to worry about, okay, we think about, okay, there is no proper vaccinations came out. We are waiting for vaccinations to come. But to be honest, there are plenty of people who came out of COVID-19, recovered completely and doing the great, actually. You know how that happens? Because that immunity, because of that prakriti of that person. So Ayurveda definitely helps in managing prakriti and vikriti, the innate nature or innate psychosomatic nature of that person of mild to moderate COVID-19 symptom, and the vikriti. Vikriti is COVID-19 itself. So it's possible to treat and maintain prakriti, and it's possible to treat and take out vikriti as well. So, Tribhuvana Kirti Rasa, Brihat Vata Chintamani Rasa, Mrityunjaya Rasa, Siddha Makara Dhwaja Rasa. See, we have so many great options to treat COVID-19 as well. And the Swarna Bhasma, Swarna Prashana is also very good. You can maintain your daily lifestyle and everything. So, along with all these plans, Ayurveda practitioners would require training in screening people for associated risk factors. I would like to convey this message to Indian government that Ayurvedic doctors should also get screening methods and screening facilities at their practice in India abroad. Because Ayurveda doctors study for 6 years, and we study all the things that equivalent to an MBBS training in India, except a couple of microbiology and these things. But because we are in a health practice platform, I believe that Ayurvedic doctors should also be facilitated in India and abroad to get the COVID-19 screening facilities. So, and these are the main things that I wanted to speak about. And Ayurveda is our system of medicine. I always Ayurveda is so beautiful in maintaining and understanding, adopting the skills that one needs to become an optimum healthy person. So that's something great thing, because in the beginning of explanation of any Ayurvedic classics, Acharya Charaka, Sushruta, Vagbhata, everybody focused on dinacharya or maintaining the health. They never thought about treating in the beginning. Their primary focus is swasthasya swasthya rakshanam, which, taking care of a person's normal health. So with this concluding words, thank you so much for having me again on this platform. I feel so honored and so grateful to be among great people like you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Narahari, for your remarkable remarks on this COVID-19 situation that we are currently facing. Joining us live from Chwane is a writer, independent researcher, African sovereignty scholar, African holistic and health advocate, Mr. Itumeleng Maleka. I now present to you Mr. Itumeleng Maleka for his remarks.
My name is Itumeleng Makale. The last name is Makale, not Maleka. And I'm hailing from Tshwane. As a backdrop, to what I'm here to present, I would like to use something profound that Dr. Pillay, said in her presentation, to say every body is uniquely constituted. Now, why I use that as a backdrop to my presentation is that it actually her statement, the profundity of it is in problematizing a standardized, a universalistic health system. If every person's body is uniquely constituted, you clearly can't have a standard healthcare system. So this punches, holes, in the health system. Now, I will speak on the concept of health from the Basotho indigenous. I'm a Mosotho by cultural, cosmological orientation. So we have a word that we use when we refer to health. I know you may be familiar with the Sotho, word that has been used popularly but wrongly. I'm actually here to correct that in equivalence, to the English word health, and that is bophelo bo botle. This is what the Department of Health here in Sesotho is called bophelo bo botle. But the correct word that the Basotho people use for health is boitekanelo, and I'll break it down what boitekanelo means. Boitekanelo comes from is an abstract noun which is derived from a verb lekanya. To lekanya is to place on scale. Lekanya is to take something to equilibrium. Now, boitekanelo is a state of equilibrium. This is the word that Basotho people use to refer to health, a person's state of health. Even in our greetings, we inquire, Now, are you in a state of equilibrium? We also don't have, we also do not delineate, we don't delineate a distinction between the body, the mind, and the soul, which actually shows the holism, in how we conceptualize the being of a person, seeing the being of a person as a whole. We call the body mele in Sesotho. We call the body mele, which simply means the carrier of essence or the container of essence, because essence, our word for essence is semelo. So from semelo, which is essence, you have mele, which is the word that we use to refer to the body. Now, buitekanelo, which is the state of equilibrium, which is what, we mean by health, by the word buitekanelo. Buitekanelo would therefore require a diagnosis on a person that do not only take account of a diagnosis that is not reductionist, that does not look at the obviously ailing part or the symptomatically ailing part, but the diagnosis would look causes of achieving buitekanelo, because the buitekanelo would be the objective here. To achieve buitekanelo, or which I refer to as the state of equilibrium, in my interpretation, based on our Basotho concept, of health. You also look at moya, because what we call moya is, what people would normally call spirit. But moya, is really a set of pathways in the being of a person, which are finding their expression and manifestation through what Eastern holistic medicine calls meridians. So moya, umoya, spirit, at the core of what is umoya or spirit, then we have energy systems corresponding to each organ, of the body. So this then brings, to clarity and comprehensively so why we view the being of a person as, being composed or constituted of parts, elements, forces that are inextricably interwoven. So in that sense, even in our idiomatic expression, I would actually make one example, of our Basotho idioms. When we say onalesebete, it's an idiom, but it means a person is brave, a person is courageous, and a person is confident. A person has a positive self-image. But this idiomatic expression, look at what it stems from. Look at what it takes from. It takes from what is obviously a thorough, knowledge of human, physiology and anatomy, and the biochemistry that, the Basotho people had, in their epistemologies. Literally means you have a lever. Now, being confident, being courageous, being brave, what does that have to do with the lever? Having positive self-image, what does that have to do with the lever? Now, a study into the meridians, a study into the energy systems, once you get to understand an energy system that corresponds to that particular organ in the body, then you'll understand why having a positive self-image, why being courageous is in our idiom used with the imagery, of the liver, as the organ. So our health with the object of achieving that state of equilibrium, which is boitekanelo, also, takes into cognizance the fact that each person has, a biochemistry that is unique to them. This is both at the individual level and also a particular genome, has, its unique biochemical makeup, which further problematizes a one-size-fits-all approach, in the health system. So another thing that, can also contribute to, as Basotho people, that we believe in, to allow the body to, nourish itself back to health, to allow the body to fight the disease or whatever viral, invasion that, is an onslaught against it, is to abstain. We call that to ila, is to abstain, from food. But you abstain using both detoxifying and tonifying herbs to allow your immunity to be activated, to allow all your meridians to have energy that is being emitted from your body and feeding, to them, in order to also assist your immunity, to fight whatever disease that has actually invaded your being, not your body, but your needs a person's being, not only your body. We don't see a disease as something that has attacked the body, only the body, or a particular organ in the body, but a disease has attacked your being, because it puts you in a state that is an opposite of what I refer to by boitekanelo. It puts you in a disease. It brings an imbalance. So you convey your life not in consonance with what is, blueprinted, what it is calibrated by, boitekanelo requirements, to convey itself. So my contribution really today, I'm wearing, I wear many caps. My contribution today really, as you would, be aware, you be aware, is more on the philosophy, of health, the Basotho people's philosophy of health. This is the philosophy of health that I was, brought up, in. This is the philosophy. I'm speaking from that. I'm speaking from self-knowledge, with the foregrounding of that kind of, upbringing, with the foregrounding, of that kind of, epistemic impartation, from my elders, from my parents, and who also got that from their forebears. So this is so far, what I had, meant, to share with you, what I had meant, to contribute. So by abstaining from food, you allow your body to nourish itself back to health. You allow your immune system to kick itself up. And yes, and that is what I had, and I'm grateful to, be given this opportunity to share with you. This is what I had to offer, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that very inspiring, knowledgeable remarks with us. It was definitely very informative. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
We've come to the next part of our program, which is a cultural segment. And like we've just heard him speak, Dr. Narhari is a man of many talents. Dr. Narhari will now be performing a small musical item, which is the sitar rendition by Dr. Narhari. Thank you so much, Dr. G, for that beautiful performance. Without further ado, our next speaker is Dr. Julia Ambler. Dr. Ambler graduated from UCT MBCA in 1998. After her junior doctor years, she spent 6 years in Oxford, UK, returning home in early 2008. Whilst in the UK, she trained and worked as a general practitioner and at a children's hospice, and is a doctor at the Helen and Douglas houses in Oxford. Since returning to South Africa in 2008, Dr. Ambler has focused on providing pediatric palliative care services in her home province of KwaZulu-Natal. She is currently the Deputy Director and Head of Clinical Services at the Umduduzi Hospice Care for Children. Dr. Ambler, in her role, she consults children in children's palliative care and trains health professionals and medical students. She is a sessional lecturer at the Department of Pediatrics at the Nelson Mandela School of Medicine, University of KwaZulu-Natal. As a communication skills expert, she is also a workshop facilitator for the Medical Protection Society. She has contributed chapters on pediatric and neonatal palliative care in 5 different textbooks and instrumental in writing local clinical guidelines, and the most recent being the care during COVID-19. Without further ado, I welcome Dr. Julia Ambler for her remarks.
Thank you so much, and thank you all. I'm really feeling quite privileged to be part of this National Health Day celebration. So thank you for the invitation to be here. I think one of the earliest memories I have of medical school in 1993 was learning the definition of health as per the World Health Organization. And it goes something like this: health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmary. Now, we then went on to proceed for the next 6 years to learn all about disease and how to manage disease and how to diagnose disease. And there was no mention anywhere in those 6 years really of well-being, and certainly no mention of emotional or social well-being. We really were a disease-focused tradition. And I think one of the criticisms that you'll still find of what we would call allopathic medicine is really that disease-focused model. As a junior doctor, I did those early years in the height of the HIV era in South Africa. That was before antiretroviral medications were available. So as this very fresh, young, brand new, enthusiastic doctor, I was certifying perhaps 5, sometimes even more patients dead every night, adults and children. And they were dying horrible, horrible deaths. They were unsupported. They didn't have proper symptom control. There was no pain medication. We just hadn't been taught about providing care to someone who's dying, let alone dying alone of a horrible, horrible disease, which was effectively an epidemic in South Africa. I had no training at all, and I'm quite sure I did a terrible job in those early years of supporting patients with such terrible disease. At that stage, I was both helpless and hopeless. That time had an enormous impact on me as a young doctor, and I think that's when I started to develop my passion for palliative care. Now, palliative care is a poorly understood field. The word comes from the Latin meaning cloak, and what we do is we cloak the patient's symptoms, if you like. So we manage symptoms. So we're not about curing disease. That's other doctors' work. Our job is to make sure that patients are comfortable and cared for while they're facing whatever it is they have to face. So for me, palliative care is essentially good medicine. It's good health care. We focus on the whole patient and their family, and we see people as people, not as the disease that they presented with. Palliative care should begin when an illness is diagnosed and should continue regardless whether that patient is receiving treatment directed at the disease. So whether it's cancer treatment or neurological treatments or any other treatment for that matter, we should be supporting and helping those patients through. And the reason for that is you don't only need help when you're now dying from your illness. You need help from the time you discover that you have a serious illness. That is when your life changes forever. And particularly my interest area is pediatrics. So I'm working with parents who are faced with terrible diagnoses of their precious little ones. And they've got to fathom that from the beginning. Whether their child is going to survive and thrive or die from their illnesses is so far away at that point. Their life will never be the same. It's filled with hospitals and treatments and aggressive painful procedures. There's so much that families and ill patients have to go through. So palliative care needs to start right at the beginning. So what do? We really focus on looking after the whole patient. We're concerned with physical suffering. So we look at relieving symptoms such as pain or nausea, vomiting, itching, all the side effects of various medications that patients are receiving. I was excited around the Ayurvedic way of having medicines and tonics that have no side effects. And unfortunately, in allopathic medicine, we know that every medicine we give, there is another side effect. So we encourage our patients to also seek alternatives and to embrace the wide options of treatments and support that is available to them. We know that treatments are complex, they can be uncomfortable, and we know that the decision-making process is also quite tricky and scary, particularly for patients and parents of small children with illness. We also know that the physical symptoms are not purely physical, that there is always an emotional and a spiritual component to those. So palliative care is interested in managing those aspects of a patient's care as well. We know that if you are not coping emotionally or you feel disconnected or experiencing some kind of spiritual distress, you're much more likely to battle with your illness, whatever it looks like. So in palliative care, we ask the difficult questions. We talk about fear. We talk about hope. We plan for the worst while we're still hoping that the best will occur. We think about concepts such as quality of life and what that actually means to the patient that's sitting in front of us. Not some generic concept, but really what it is involved for the individual person that is with us. We think about things like mobility, and for children, we worry about their education and their access to play as an integral part of how a child should be growing up, even if they are suffering with a serious illness. We seek to understand the patient and their family. We want to know what's important to them. Do they have some kind of faith or religion that they identify with? Do they pray? Can they pray, or are they finding themselves too angry to pray? We find that a lot of children with serious illness are very afraid and find themselves wondering whether God has punished them in some way for something that they've done. What we do is we give patients permission to express their deepest and darkest worries without any fear of judgment. And these are the things that make up our patients. Not just the disease process that's ravaging their body, but as you've already spoken about, is the soul, the moya, the mind, and the spirit at the end of the day. So what else do we do? We help them plan. For the illness itself, we plan what's going to happen. What happens if it gets worse? What will they go through? What can we do? Are there medications they can have on hand? Are there alternative therapies that they can seek out, both pharmacological and non-pharmacological treatments that might be available for their disease or their symptom process that's occurring? We talk about where they want to be, if they want to be in hospital. Now, without fail, most patients want to be at home, but that's not always possible. And during curative or aggressive treatments, a lot of patients do have to be there. But we give that option to talk about the what if. What if I decided to stop treatment? What if I decided to be at home? What would it look like then? How will I manage this disease process while I'm home rather than being in hospital? That is becoming even more relevant now during this COVID-19 pandemic that we're experiencing. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. We're there to help them think through that complicated thought process, that very frightening, what will my family say if I decide to stop treatment? What will everybody think if I decide to go home instead of being in hospital? And really trying to work their way through those difficult questions. Lastly, we will help a patient die well, if that's even possible. I'm hoping most people believe that it is possible. But when things are put in place and symptoms are managed and paid for emotionally and spiritually, we find that a good death is possible. And then we will also provide support to the grieving loved ones that are left behind. So during COVID-19, I'm sure there are many people, doctors, health professionals struggling in this pandemic. Perhaps the same way I struggled during our own epidemic in, the early 90s when I was just a junior doctor. There's the uncertainty. Will it end? Where will it end? How will it end? Will it end? How are we ever going to get ourselves out of this terrible, terrible process? There's an overwhelming lack of resources. Having to witness patients suffer symptoms and go through a terrible, terrible time, some of the time alone in hospital because of the draconian rules that are being put in place to try and curb the spread. We've all read about and seen in some circumstances patients that are isolated in the hospital. Even if they don't have COVID, they're still not allowed to have visitors. They're still not allowed access to their loved ones. How do we manage that as health professionals? So for me, when I was thinking about this topic, I just realized we've come such a long way. We live in such a different world now. We live in a world where palliative care exists, where we're looking at holistic care, where we're looking at other options, where finally maybe the different forms of medicine and practitioners can actually come together and help our patients rather than being anti this or anti that, but really trying to respect each other and enjoy what each profession brings to the patient's life. We live in a world where we can plan ahead, and particularly in COVID, we need to be thinking about our seriously ill patients that already have advanced disease. What do they want to do if they get it? Do they want to be in hospital? Do they want to even be considered for a ventilator? Would they prefer to be home, surrounded by their loved ones? Even if it means their life is shortened a bit, they have choices. They need to be able to make those choices and exercise that right, but they're not going to do it unless their healthcare workers are prepared to have those very brave decisions. We must advocate that each person, every individual should have named a proxy. So should they become very ill during this time, that we know who is going to make the decisions on their behalf if they're not able to make them for themselves. And we should encourage families to be talking about all of this stuff. What are their wishes? What do they want? A friend of mine's father died recently, and she didn't even know whether he wanted to be cremated or buried. That's how little the family had spoken about the options for the future. And yet we all know we're going to die. There's only one thing sure in this life, and that's tax and death. And we're going to do it all. The next thing that we've got, which we didn't have when I was a junior doctor, is the technology. We can get the support that we need. We can attend webinars. We can look things up. Someone mentioned earlier about, I think it was Dr. Nahari spoke about, you can go and read about it if you want to find out more. We have access to that information and that technology. I know I've been overwhelmed by the number of guidelines and information that I've received, but it's all about providing better care. This is a far cry from when I was a junior doctor and the internet was just in its infancy and my cell phone resembled something like a brick that I could damage you with rather than make a call with. There was certainly no kind of pictures or photos or any of that. It was literally just a phone without a wire. Patients and families also have access to that information, and it's our job to help them negotiate that and find a sensible way through the quagmire of information that's out there. And we may be able to do that through telemedicine now, which is really quite exciting. And when patients are lonely and isolated, we can use that technology. We can think out the box. I know that some hospitals have managed to get, in South Africa, have managed to get tablets and iPhones, smartphones donated so that they can link up families that are not allowed in to visit their loved one or their dying loved one. So just to summarize and to finish off, in this absolutely international crisis, we're no longer hopeless. We're no longer helpless. We have so much to share, and we have so much to learn and so much to give. And I really believe that working together in this time, and I think that's where we are now. We're a much better place than we've ever been internationally on a global level, trying to work together. Not all countries, but most countries are coming together in this time of crisis. And I'm really, really hoping that we'll learn about these things, that we'll learn that we need to think about health and well-being and not just about illness and disease. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Julia Amblo, for your remarks. Thank you for taking us through to the past, the present, and the future, and for your sense of humor. Our next speaker, joining us from Durban, is Dr. R.L. Bula, who's qualified in Ireland and who's also studied further in the United Kingdom. Dr. Bula is currently working as a specialist physician and is involved in the private hospital care. He also serves as the chairman of a group of doctor-owned hospitals with a total of 800 beds in KwaZulu-Natal. I now present Dr. R.L. Bula for his remarks.
Firstly, I would like to thank the Consulate General of India for asking me to say a few words. I'm also impressed with the range of people you have at this video conference. My talk today was to comment on allopathic medicine in the provision of healthcare. I feel for allopathic medicine is medicine providing empathy, compassion, and dedication to patients with the critical examination of patients and based on evidence-based medicine. And it must be supported by science and statistics. I'm going to give you a few examples. At the current stage, we have a lot of talk about the use of chloroquine and the use of BCG vaccines. Both of these therapies need to be further investigated. By close examination, we are going to need evidence-based medicines, and we're going to need statistical proven medicines to see that these medicines are useful to our society. I'm going to give you some examples where in the past, if we don't use evidence-based medicine, this is what happens. Many years ago, I was taken all over the world to talk about peptic ulcer disease and to say that acid caused ulcers, and ulcers were due to spicy food. And then in the late 80s, somebody found that peptic ulcer disease was not due to chilies or not due to acid, but was due to a bug called Helicobacter. But in the 20 years before that, the pharmaceutical industry made fortune selling anti-ulcer drugs. So any medicines we take has to be properly investigated. There must be science behind it, and it must be evidence-based. I'll give you one more example. When I qualified many years ago, we're told that a blood pressure depended on the systolic and diastolic. And we were told that if your systolic blood pressure is 10 above your age, so a 16 age person, a blood pressure of 170 over 100 will be satisfactory. And we were told this and we taught this. But then when we looked at the statistics from insurance company had a whole database of patients that they had taken for insurance. When they took a 60-year-old person and they took 100,000 of that, and they found that if the blood pressure was higher, these people had higher mortalities and died sooner. The simple observation like that now tells us that blood pressure, both the systolic and the diastolic, are important. And not only that, any blood pressure above 140 over 90 can be detrimental to health. The point I'm making is allopathic medicine is really medicine based on compassion, empathy, and dedication. It has to be linked with proper observation and examination of patients, and then this must be followed by evidence-based medicine, and it must be supported by science and by statistical evidence. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bula, for your knowledgeable remarks. We really appreciate it. Our next speaker joining us live from India is Dr. S.M. Thakur. Dr. S.M. Thakur has completed his yoga course in the year 1983 under the great renounce of Yogi Swami Dhirendra Brahmachari in Vishwayatam Yoga Ashram, Delhi. Sir was appointed as an Assistant Research Officer Yoga at the Ministry of Ayush in the year 1988 and treated different types of common diseases by yoga therapy and yoga way of life. Sir has been retired for the past 3 years, retired in the year 2017. I now hand you over live from New Delhi, Dr. S.M. Thakur for his remarks.
नमस्कार सबको, पैनल में उपस्थित सभी महान भावों को, डॉक्टर सीपी योगी, डॉक्टर आरएल हुलिया, डॉक्टर जूलिया एम्बल, डॉक्टर बिंदु नायर, डॉक्टर कनाद नरहरि, सुश्री सृष्टि हरिनारायणन, तेज कुमार प्रदीप, कविता सोलंकी और पीयूष खंडेवाल, मैं सब आयुष्मान भारत के उपलक्ष्य पर हृदय से नमस्कार करता हूँ। सबसे पहले मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ, और ये मैं मानता भी हूँ, मैं 40 साल से मैंने देखा है कि बीमार होके ठीक होने में जितना झमेला है उतना कम झमेला है कि हम बीमार ही नहीं। इसलिए गीता का एक श्लोक है, 6ठे अध्याय का 17वां श्लोक, युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्ना बोधस्य योगो भवत दुःखः। इसी के आधार पर विस्तृत व्याख्या करते हुए मैं हेल्थ के बारे में कुछ आप लोगों को बताना चाहता हूँ। स्वास्थ्य के मेरे हिसाब से 5 पिलर्स हैं, स्तंभ हैं, जिसमें सबसे पहला पिलर है आहार, डाइट। दूसरा पिलर है व्यायाम, एक्सरसाइज। तीसरा पिलर है निंद्रा, स्लीप। चौथा पिलर है बेफिक्री, टेंशन। एंड 5वां पिलर है आध्यात्म, स्पिरिट। पहला पिलर आहार। आहार के बारे में गीता में स्पष्ट कहा गया है और 3 प्रकार के आहार की चर्चा की, सात्विक, राजसिक और तामसिक आहार। और उसमें स्पष्ट रूप से कह दिया गया है, इशारा कर दिया गया है, बता दिया गया है। सात्विक आहार के बारे में कहा गया है कि आयु, सत्व, बल, आरोग्य, सुख, प्रीति, विवर्धना, रस्या, स्निग्धा आहारा सात्विक प्रिया। यदि आप चाहते हैं कि जीवन में आपको सुख मिले, निरोगता मिले, आरोग्य मिले, प्रेम मिले, प्रेम बढ़े आपके जीवन में और सदाचार बढ़े, तो आप सात्विक आहार का सेवन करें। आयु, सत्व, बल, आरोग्य, इन सब चीजों का। यदि आप नहीं चाहते कि आपके जीवन में इस तरह की वृद्धि हो, तो दूसरा आहार जो है राजसिक आहार, कटु, अम्ल, लवना, तीक्ष्ण, रुक्ष्ण, विदाहिना आहारा राजश्रेष्ठा शोक दुख भय प्रदा। यदि चाहते हैं कि आप शोक में रखें, दुख में रहें या भय में रहें, तो संसार में कोई किसी को नहीं रोकता है, फांसी लगा लेते हैं, उसे नहीं रोकने जाता है, तो आप राजसिक आहार का सेवन करें। अब तीसरा आहार है तामसिक आहार। यात यामम गत रसम कोटि पर्युसुतम उच्छिष्टमपि चामेध्यम भोजनम तामसम प्रियम। जो आहार बासी है, जो जूठा है, देर से पचने वाले गरिष्ठ आहार है, ऐसे आहार तामसिक लोगों को प्रिय है और यह रोगों को बढ़ावा देता है। इसलिए मेरा मानना है कि सात्विक आहार सबसे उत्तम आहार है, जिसे सभी लोगों को सेवन करना चाहते हैं। यदि वो चाहते हैं कि हमारा हेल्थ, हमारा परिवार, हमारा समाज, हमारा राष्ट्र सुखी रहे, तो सात्विक आहार का सेवन करना चाहिए। अब इसमें आयुर्वेद का एक सिद्धांत है, बताया गया है आयुर्वेद में कि कितना आहार लेना चाहिए। कि जिस समय भोजन करने के लिए बैठते हैं उस समय अपने पेट को 4 भाग में बांटना चाहिए। और लिखा गया है कि नेन पुरयेत अर्धम तो नेन तु तृतीयकम उदरस्त चतुर्थांशम वायु संरक्षित चारणे। आधा अन्न से भरे, तीसरा पानी के लिए छोड़ दें और चौथा हवा के लिए छोड़। यदि आप इस तरह का आहार लेते हैं तो जीवन में आपको कोई रोग नहीं हो। एक और सिद्धांत है आहार के संबंध में कि तीव्र भूख की इच्छा हो तब खाना खाएं और भूख की इच्छा नहीं हो तो खाना नहीं खाएं। अभी एक रिसर्च हुआ इस पर, कोलेस्ट्रॉल पर। देखा गया है कि जब तीव्र भूख की इच्छा होती है जिसको कहते हैं कि पेट में एक मुहावरा है, चूहे कूदना, उस समय भोजन लेना चाहिए और आधा लेना चाहिए, तो कोलेस्ट्रॉल नहीं बनेगा। लेकिन जब भूख नहीं है और किसी ने कहा कि अच्छा चलो थोड़ा खा लो, अच्छा तो लाओ थोड़ा खा लेता हूं, उस समय यदि आप सूखे चने भी खाएंगे जो कोलेस्ट्रॉल को कम करता है। कोलेस्ट्रॉल को कम करने के लिए 3 चीजें हैं, सूखा भुना हुआ चना, इसबगोल और लहसुन, ये तीनों कोलेस्ट्रॉल को कम करता है। लेकिन उस समय यदि आप भुने हुए चने को भी खाएंगे तो कोलेस्ट्रॉल बनेगा। ये अभी सब रिसर्च हुआ है, इसलिए भूख लगे तो खाएं और भूख रख के खाना चाहिए। तो आहार के बारे में बिल्कुल स्पष्ट है। आयुर्वेद में बहुत सारे डॉक्टर बिंदु नायर ने, डॉक्टर कनाद नरहरि ने बताया है, बहुत अच्छी बात उन्होंने की। ज्यादा उस पर चर्चा करना ठीक नहीं है, केवल यही कहना चाहिए कि सात्विक आहार लें जिससे आपका बल बढ़े, आपकी बुद्धि बढ़े, प्रेम बढ़े और आपका आरोग्य निरोगता भी बढ़े। अब दूसरा पिलर है व्यायाम, एक्सरसाइज। आप देखें, एक चिड़िया भी खिला के, एक पशु भी खिला के व्यायाम करता है। तो मनुष्य को भी एक लिमिट, एक व्यायाम को एक लेना चाहिए कि हमारे लिए कौन सा व्यायाम उपयुक्त। अभी संसार में बहुत सारे व्यायाम की पद्धतियां आ गई है, जिसमें जिम भी है, एरोबिक है और बहुत सारे हैं। लेकिन देखा गया है कि जो यौगिक व्यायाम है, प्राणायाम है, ध्यान है, सूक्ष्म व्यायाम की क्रिया है, या जो षटकर्म की क्रिया है, जो डॉक्टर बिंदु नायर ने भी शायद कहा था, उसमें विरेचन है, नीति है, तो उन क्रियाओं का अभ्यास हमारे जीवन के लिए बहुत ज्यादा उपयोगी है। तो व्यायाम निश्चित रूप से करना चाहिए और एक चीज डिसाइड कर लेना चाहिए मन में कि 24 घंटे में 1 घंटा अपने व्यायाम के लिए जरूर निकालना चाहिए। 23 घंटा आप संसार को दे दें, तो 1 घंटा हमारा व्यायाम के लिए होना चाहिए। अब तीसरा पिलर है स्लीप, निद्रा। यदि ये दोनों पिलर आपका ठीक है, आहार भी ठीक है, व्यायाम भी ठीक है, तो निद्रा अपने आप ठीक होगा। इस पिलर में कोई कुछ नहीं है। विनोबा से किसी ने पूछा कि आज रात में हम नींद बहुत अच्छी तरह से सोए तो हम कैसे जान पाएंगे? उन्होंने कहा कि हर आदमी जब रात में सोने जाता है तो अपने चादर को तान के बिछा के सोता है। सुबह उठने पर यदि उस चादर में कोई मोड़ पड़ा हुआ हो, कोई सिलवट नहीं पड़ा हुआ हो, तो ये जान लेना चाहिए कि आज हमारी निद्रा बहुत अच्छी हुई। दूसरा, निद्रा के संबंध में एक और प्रश्न किया गया, यदि रात में कोई स्वप्न आता है तो ये हमारी कैसी निद्रा है? तो मान लिया कि ये निद्रा अच्छी नहीं है, क्योंकि जब अच्छी नींद होती है उस समय स्वप्न का कोई स्थान नहीं होता है। तो इसलिए हमें नींद भी अच्छा लेना चाहिए। नींद नहीं लेने से आजकल बहुत सारे साइकोसोमैटिक डिजीज उत्पन्न हो रहे हैं। चौथा पिलर है बेफिक्री, निश्चिंतता। दुनिया में आग लगे, पानी पड़ जाए, हमारे ऊपर नहीं पड़ना चाहिए, इस तरह की मानसिकता होनी चाहिए। क्योंकि जीवन में जो घटना घटित होने वाली है वो घटना होगा ही, चाहे हम लाख कुछ करें वो बचा नहीं जा सकता है। इसीलिए तुलसी ने रामायण में लिखी है कि प्रारब्ध पहले रचा, पीछे रचा शरीर, तुलसी चिंता की भजले श्री रघुवीर। प्रारब्ध जो है मनुष्य का होना है, ये चौथा पिलर है। पांचवा पिलर है आध्यात्म। ये बहुत बड़ा पिलर है। इसको गांधी जी ने राम नाम करके शब्द दिया है और उन्होंने एक छोटी सी किताब भी लिखी राम नाम करके। और उस जमाने में उन्होंने 24 ऐसे दृष्टांत, उदाहरण दिए हैं, एग्जाम्पल दिए हैं लोगों के नाम पता के सहित, जिनको बड़ी असाध्य बीमारी थी, जिसको डॉक्टर ने मना कर दिया कि बीमारी ठीक नहीं होगी, लेकिन केवल राम नाम के उच्चारण से, उसके जप से वो बीमारी ठीक हो गया। तो गीता में एक श्लोक आता है, अनन्यास्यन्तो माये जना परिपास्ते तेषां योग युक्तानां योग क्षेमं वहाम्यहम्। जो अनन्य भाव से मेरी उपासना करता है उसका सारा भार मैं ले लेता हूँ। तो ये आध्यात्मिक चेतना होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि इस सृष्टि को कोई एक शक्ति संचालित कर रहा है। में हमारी आस्था, हमारा विश्वास, हमारा प्रेम होना चाहिए, और यदि है तो शक्ति हमेशा हमारी रक्षा करती रहती। इसीलिए 5 पिलर हमारे हिसाब से बहुत उत्तम है, जो हेल्थ के लिए हर आदमी को ध्यान में रख के करना चाहिए। और मैं सबको प्रणाम करता हूँ, और ये कार्यक्रम बहुत अच्छा आप लोगों ने किया है, इसकी मैं अभी देता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, Dr. S.M. Thakur sir, for sharing your very knowledgeable remarks with us. Without further ado, we've come to our last speaker for this evening's program, and that is Dr. Tej Kumar Parikh. Sir is a research scientist and a public health scholar based in Cleveland, Ohio, the United States of America. And he has also Sir has studied his PhD, MBA, and MPH, and has accomplished biomedical research. And also, he is a successful business entrepreneur based in the United States. He's also an esteemed author of several scientific papers, book chapters, reviews based in the United States of America. He is also a top-ranked biomedical and written in top-ranked biomedical journals in the fields of neuroscience, immunology, and cancer biology. I now hand you over to Dr. Tej Kumar Parekh, all the way from Cleveland, Ohio, United States of America, for his remarks.
Thank you, Srishti. I will be short as I can realize that we are about time. But I think it was a great opportunity which Consulate Journal and Dr. Yogi has provided us, SVCC, to arrange such kind of a great seminar, virtual seminar, I would say. I'm in social isolation for past 50 days, so it's a privilege and honor to being in touch with you and listening all of you. I was just trying to think that what I should be talking today, and I realized that I'm an odd member because all of you are the frontline health professionals who are healing patients and dealing with patients through Ayurveda or modern medicine. But I'm a biomedical research scientist. We are involved in all the drugs which come to your clinic. And I will just give you a gist of that. It takes about 14 years for a drug when we start a discovery of that drug and then it starts to come to your clinic. So it's a very long process. The reason I brought this point, because in COVID-19 crisis, a lot of people are having this anxiety that next year this drug will come and tomorrow that drug will come. And as Dr. Bhula was saying, that modern medicine, if you will call it, or the Western medicine, whatever word you will use for it, it is evidence-based research. There is a proper statistical methods which need to be followed, and then only believe into things what they believe. Few key points which I was just making out of the talk today when I was listening Dr. Bindu and Dr. Kanad, the way they were describing the prescriptions of Ayurveda, they were talking as whatever the names of drugs which they were taking, they were essentially the food components. And in Ayurveda, I believe that food is prescribed as medicine. But if you come to Western medicine, medicine becomes food here. If you go into any Western home, you will see their almirahs are piled up with all these medicines, which are essential component of their routine day-to-day life. They are managing their depression, all different sort of things by these chemicals. One another fundamental difference which I see in Western medicine and Ayurveda, or the traditional practice of Ayurveda, is this, that there's a holistic approach in Ayurveda where you prescribe things which contains multiple things, multiple chemicals, multiple compositions of matters. But Western world somehow believed in the idea of economies of scale, where they wanted to treat all patients, label all the disease in a single form, singularity form. Like suppose we use the word prostate cancer or breast cancer, but even now we are realizing that prostate cancer is very individual for each individual person. Each person is different for their disease, and now Western medicine is realizing it. But for more than a century, we just treated diseases as a common disease, and we were trying to create economies of a scale where we can decode the chemical of that plant or of that herb, and then can turn into some kind of a drug which works to some extent. But as Dr. Julia was mentioning, that has a lot of toxic side effects. There is no Western medicine drug which doesn't come without any toxic effects. So there is a trade-off when you extract the chemical. In Ayurveda, you will be prescribing turmeric, and in Western medicine, we would be prescribing curcumin, which is the key component of that turmeric. So we don't have that antidotes which is present in Ayurvedic medicine. So these are some fundamental differences, but what I believe that we are reaching to a stage where there has to be some kind of a amalgamation of all the different practices all across the globe. We can't live in isolation. I don't think that way Ayurveda has practiced, there are reasons that why people move towards Western medicine, and there is also a reason why people are losing their faith now in modern medicine, and then why they are reaching to Ayurveda. Just to give you an example, I think in Ayurveda you start with the concept of if someone comes, then you would first fix the person's environment. If that environment doesn't fix that ailments in that person, then you will be prescribing changes in his food habits. If that doesn't work, then you will give some specific food recommendations to him. And if that doesn't work, then eventually you may be prescribing that person a surgery or whatever the things which that person need. But in Western medicine, if you will come, the first thing they would like to fix with surgery. The first thing is this in Western medicine. If anything is wrong, okay, remove this organ, change this organ. If that doesn't work, then we go to the medicine. We bombard that patient with a chemical. And if that doesn't work, then we will tell him that, okay, you just change your environment. And if that doesn't work, then we will say that, okay, just go and look for other options, Ayurveda, other things, and they may heal you by changing the food. So it's a very contrast approach these two different medicine system takes. And I will come back to the definition of World Health Organization, which define the health, which Julia was mentioning, which says that that is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. And if we go with that definition, I think that each and every single person on this globe is a sick person. No one is healthy here, if suppose the World Health Organization approach, because I personally believe the health is not a state, it's a journey, and we all will be thriving towards that. So there would be a balance of your physical mass, then there will be a equilibrium with the environment, and then eventually there will be a realization of your existence to the cosmos. So it's a journey which people go towards, and then you can call them healthy. And then there are 4 fundamental concepts which I think each one of you talked in a different manner. The one concept which I'm more familiar with is biomedical health concept. The second concept is ecological health concept. And then there is a psychosocial health concept, which some of you talked. Mr. Bhula talked in detail about that. And then there's a holistic health concept. So if you see in the biomedical health concept, I would say that we mostly run through this germ cell theory, where we think that the absence of disease is considered to be healthy. That's the typical biomedical concept. I would also say that philosophers, where they are more fascinated, biomedical researchers are more fascinated for death. We try to look the phenomena, how the cells die. And if you can imagine that there are millions of deaths, which is constantly happening in our body, the absence of death is actually the cause of the death of this whole being. So there is a constant death is required in our body. We call it apoptosis, or we call it a necrosis, whatever that program death happens in our body. So we are more focused on killing the cells in our body, because if our cells decide not to die, that is a cause of cancer. And I always call it's a mortal dance of our immortal cells. That's what is cancer. So we are more focused on things which are at a cellular level, at a molecular level. I would also say that there is the concept of health is also being, I would say, there's a lot of confusion about this health concept, because there's a book I was reading, and you all should read, Expanding the Boundaries of Disease, because in that book they talk that how pharma industry has created each and every normal human process, disease, new age, and actually World Health Organization is actually debating to call aging as a disease. But that's a general normal phenomena. Whatever thing has came on this earth that eventually will die, our metabolic process is not going to be similar when we are 80 or 85 as it used to be when we were in our 20s. So there is also be this pharmaceutical industries where disease has become a big market for people. So they have also increased the boundaries of disease. So which is normal, that is considered to be disease, and there are more people who are seeing health professionals. So I think without going into further detail, I would say that there is a requirement now where all these different practices, and I was just listening MAKALE, and he brought the liver is considered in Bosto concept as a factor of bravery or courage. I think the similar thing I heard in Indian concept where they use the word jigger, and the jigger is also considered, that is the literal meaning is liver. And in our cultural context also, liver is fundamentally very key component of health and vigor. So what I would just conclude my talk without going into detail, just because of that time constraint, that there should be a time, and I think this is the high time, where all health professionals, may it be traditional practices in India or all across the globe or the modern medicine, there's a bigger, greater need of amalgamation of all of health concepts. We come together, we use the best practices of evidence-based practices in modern medicine. We also go back and then we understand what works well in our traditional health practices. I can give you examples. Now, entire health medicine is moving in modern medicine. They realize that personalized medicine, the word they are using is called personalized medicine. And personalized medicine is taking a bigger part. The two companies which we have started, they are completely focused on developing personalized medicine, because we realize that each cancer, each disease is very different and very individualistic for that person. So this economies of scale in treating people is not going to work. And we have to come back to the concept of Ayurveda, but at the same time, we have to utilize the best practices of our modern science, where they create a documented, evidence-based, statistically proved login of the treatment processes. Then our world will be in a better place, and we will continue to have this journey towards health rather than to be in a state of health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. G, for your very informative remarks. That was really appreciated. We've come to the next cultural item in our program, and that is a sweet, melodious rendition of music by my esteemed colleague at the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Ms. Kavita Solanki, who is going to render a short song for us.
Thank you, Shashti. Namaste, everyone. Now enjoy the beautiful song. Shakti Samritam, Yukti Samritam, Shakti Yukti Samritam, Bhavatu Bharatam, Shastradharikam, 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 Bhavatu Bharatam, Niti Sanskritam, Riti Sanskritam, Niti Riti Sanskritam, Bhavatu Bharatam, Karmanaishthikam, Dharmanaishthikam, Karma Dharmanaishthikam, Bhavatu Bharatam, Bhakti Sadhikam, Mukti Sadhikam, Bhakti Mukti Sadhikam, Bhavatu Bharatam, Shakti Samritam, Yukti Samritam, Shakti Yukti Samritam, Bhavatu Bharatam, Shakti Yukti Samritam, Bhavatu Bharatam. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
So much, Kavita ji, for that melodious song. Without further ado, I would like to call my esteemed colleague from the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center to render the vote of thanks for this evening's program. Ms. Cheryl Banwari Lal.
On behalf of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India, Durban, I would like to say a huge thank you to all our esteemed online guest speakers, Dr. Bindu Nair, Dr. Kannada Nahari, Mr. Itumeleng, Dr. Julia Ambler, Dr. R. Bula, Dr. S.M. Thakur, and Dr. Tej Kumar Parekh for taking time off their busy schedules to share their vast knowledge with us. I would like to say a huge thank you to Ms. Kavita Solanki for the beautiful song and Ms. Shristi Harinarayan for being our lovely MC. I would like to thank Mr. Piyush Kandawal for all the technical support and making all our online programs a success. Lastly, a huge thank you to you, our online friends, for taking time off your busy schedule to join us for today's program. Please follow us on our social media pages for our upcoming events. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you.